Leaders of Communion Fellowship. Jesús Morán describes a new type of leader emerging in recent decades in an online meeting of local leaders of Focolare communities around the world in Rocca di Papa, Italy, on April 7, 2022. Generally, we think that a leader must be an individual with a strong personality, endowed with an indomitable character and a power of conviction, capable of leading others towards objectives identified by them and presented as being the real and profound needs of all. Susan Cain, a North American sociologist, has devoted much of her university research to the analysis of the type of extrovert personality, which, in her opinion, has characterized the figure of the leader in her country, particularly from the first decades of the 20th century onwards. This has come about through a precise and effective propaganda strategy supported by an endless number of courses, publications, and teaching tools. That magnetic, charming, magnificent, attractive, bright, dominant, decisive, and energetic kind of individual has established itself in much of the world as an emblem or symbol of leadership. In her 2012 book, Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, Bompiani, Cain writes that things have been changing for some time now and that a new personality type is emerging. It is the introvert, the reflective person who, with his or her calmness, increasingly focuses attention on social environments and begins to exercise a completely different kind of leadership from the usual one. Whereas the traditional extrovert leader prefers action to reflection, effectiveness to relationships, the new type of leader does the opposite. He or she prefers to wait, reflecting and thinking before taking any initiative. They waste time in relating to others rather than seeking effectiveness at all costs, knowing that in the long run, cultivating relationships is the most fruitful thing. A shining example of an introvert leader, to use Cain's category, is Gandhi. When he made the trip to the capital, New Delhi, to address the Congress Party, he had already traveled thousands of kilometers by train, visiting villages all over his vast country. He took the floor simply to highlight the true situation of the people. His speech was received with absolute silence. A new type of leader was born, the leader of nonviolence, one who would lead his country to independence from Britain. Nowadays, we see that many of those individuals trained to exercise leadership with the features of dominant and energetic extroversion actually have feet of clay. Their strength is paper thin, and above all, they do not convey convictions because they are ultimately lacking in thought and love. So, let's be thankful for this new kind of leadership. We need it. Using our categories, we would say that the world and our communities today need leaders of communion fellowship. That is, people who are, of course, decisive and convinced, also energetic, but capable of giving priority to the we over the pure I. They are aware, therefore, that strength comes from being part of a body and not from fragmentation. They are people who inspire consensus, reverse the trend of unnerving and upsetting competitiveness, and find room for everyone, even the weakest, especially the weakest. With this kind of leadership, everyone's talents come to the fore and are not sidelined by envy. The leader of Communion Fellowship prefers listening to talking, letting people do things, to doing these things themselves. They prefer time to space, meekness to violence, service to pain. They prefer love to selfishness, agreement to imposition, wisdom to ideology. These people enable the presence of Jesus in the midst. They are the first to love, taking on the pain of others. They stand out for the love for Jesus forsaken and are experts in resolving conflicts by avoiding polarization, and they blame themselves, first of all, if necessary. Power is foreign to this type of leader, and so they are able to leave office when the time comes. This leader always seeks the truth and therefore breaks with the effects of malicious gossip from the outset. For this type of leadership, synodality is the only methodology. These people are deeply spiritual, but also concrete. They can be found. Availability is therefore a trait of theirs. They are guided by humble ways, and self criticism makes them grow. They are free because they are not afraid of anyone except their old self. To sum up, leaders of communion fellowship are Marian leaders, full of love and all service. Jesús Morán.